Yeah. Online people, can you please confirm if my voice is audible or not?
If it's audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Audible.
And hope you are able to see my screen also.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So as part of previous session in the database concepts, what we discussed about the DDL commands. And actually before that, we discussed about how to open the MySQL prompt. And after that, we discussed about what are the different types of the commands we are having. So we discussed about DDL commands, DML, DRL, DCL, and TCL commands. All these are the commands we discussed around it. So when we need to go for DDL commands, whenever you want to deal anything with the structure of the table, we need to go for DDL. When we need to go for DML, if you want to deal anything with the data, then we need to go for the DML commands. And what about DRL? If you want to extract the data or read the data or fetch the data from the tables, then we need to go for DRL commands. And coming to DCL, if you want to control the access of the table, then we need to go for the TCL commands. And coming to TCL, transaction control language, whenever you want to control the transaction, then we need to go for the TCL commands. All these are the different types of commands which we already discussed as part of our previous classes. And after that, we discussed about the create command. And we discussed about what all are the things we need to consider as part of creating a table in the database system. What all are the things we need to consider? Table name, column name, data type length, constraints. All these are the things we need to consider if you want to create the table. Then we discussed about what are the types of data types we are having: integer, char, varchar, decimal, date, time, timestamp. All these are the different data types available. And coming to constraints, what are the constraints we are having? Unique, not null, check, default, primary key, and foreign key. We discussed about the first 4 constraints only. We need to discuss about primary key and foreign key. And after that, we discussed about create table syntax. Then we discussed about how we are going to insert the data. So before going to the insert, just I want to discuss one more topic. I want to reiterate the topic. So whenever you want to create the table in the real-time projects, from where we are going to get the structure of the tables? From the PDF document. In the PDF document, you can able to see the table name, column name, data type, length, and constraint. All this information we can able to see in the PDF document. With the help of the PDF document, we are going to create the tables in the real-time projects. Okay. And after that, we discuss about the insert statement. We discussed about how we are going to insert data for all the columns in the table. At the same time, we discussed about how to insert data for particular columns in the table by depending on the requirement. And one more question: whenever you want to insert the data, what all are the things we need to consider? Whenever you want to insert the data into the table, what all are the things we need to consider? We need to verify how many number of columns we are having in the table. Then we need to consider order of the columns and data types of the column. And we need to consider constraints of the each and every column. Without checking all these 3, if you are going to insert the data blindly, what will happen? You will get the syntax error. That's the reason whenever you are trying to insert the data, we need to verify how many number of columns we are having. We need to verify the order of the columns, data types of the columns, and constraints of the columns. All these are the things we need to verify whenever you are trying to perform the insert operations. Okay, this is just a recap of our previous topics only. Now today we'll start discussing about the new topics. We'll discuss about alter command. So what is the purpose of alter? Or what type of command it is? This is a DDL command, which is nothing but indirectly by using the alter command, what operations we can able to perform, structure operations or data operations. We can able to perform the operations on top of the structure. So we can able to say to change structure of the tables, we can use alter command. Whenever you want to change the structure of the tables, what we can do here, we can able to use the alter command. But what is the meaning of the changing the structure of the table? For example, I want to add the columns into the table. Already my table is having the 5 columns only. Now, as per the requirement, I want to add some new columns. Then we can able to go for alter command. Or if you want to remove the columns from the table, or if you want to modify the columns in the table, in all these situations, what we can do here, we can able to use the command called as a alter command. Now, out of all these 3 operations, what we are changing indirectly? We are changing the structure of the table. So whenever you want to change the structure of the table, we can able to use the alter command. Okay, just we'll go to SQL prompt. How to open SQL prompt? Hope everyone did the practice Sunday. So with that, I'm assuming that I'm directly opening the SQL prompt. Otherwise, just we need to go to start. Type for MySQL. So we need to open MySQL shell, or we need to open a command line client. We need to open the command line client. Okay. Okay, so I want to see the available databases. What I need to do? Show databases. Yeah, what is the database which I created as part of the class? Create underscore B19. Now I want to switch to that database. So what I can do? Use CD underscore B19. So we are given the simply use database. With that, we can able to see, we can able to switch to one database to other database. And in the previous class, someone asked the question, how we can able to see currently in which database we are working. To check in which database you are working. So what we can do here is simply we can give it as select database from GL. So this is the command we can able to use only. This is the query simply we can able to prepare. So to check in which database you are currently working, what we can do here, we can give it as a select database from GL. So once we are going to run this query, it will display in which database currently you are working. In the same way, how to see list of the tables in database. Simply we can give it as a show table. So with that, we can able to see the list of the tables which are present in the database system. I think on that day we created the employee table. So now I want to see the structure of the employee table. What we can do? This is the new command we are discussing today, Andy. To see structure of the table, we can give simply describe table name. Just give it as describe table name. So if you want to see the structure of the table, we have to give it as a describe table name. Click on enter. Now see, we have created the 4 columns and we given the data types, and with that we created the table. Otherwise, if you want, we can give the shortcut also. Simply give it as a DESC and D. Whenever you want to see the structure of the table, we can give it as a DESC, then give it as employee. So this is the way simply we can able to create the structure of the table. And if you want to see the data in the table, simply give it as select star from employee table. So what I will do here is, after completion of the class, I will copy all these queries from the MySQL prompt only, and I will send it to you only. That's the reason for every query I'm typing, what is the use of this? So to see the data of the table, we are giving it as a select star from employee. And if you want to see the structure of the table, we are using the describe. So I will put what is the reason for this query. Then I will give the example of the query, and after completion of the class, I will copy all this content and I will share with you. With that, as part of doing the practice, if you are getting any kind of issues, you can able to re-verify all the queries which I typed as part of the classes. Is it clear? Okay. And are you able to see the screen, or you want me to increase the font? Increase the font. Okay, sorry. Is it fine now? Okay. Okay. Now see here, actually, here how many columns we are having? Total 4 columns we are having. Now my requirement is I want to add one more extra column in this table. For example, I want to add the column name as a X and I want to add one more column as a Y and D. Add columns with names. I'm giving, for example, ID1 and ID2. I want to add the columns with the name ID1, ID2. Indirectly, what we are doing here, we are changing the structure of the table. So if you want to change the structure of the table here, we can give it as simply alter command. This is the syntax we need to follow. Alter table, table name. Now you want to add the columns or you want to drop the columns? I want to add the columns. So we need to give it as add. What is the column name? ID1. So earlier we discussed, right? Whenever you are going to give the column names, compulsory what we need to pass? Compulsory data type we have to give. Constraint is mandatory? No. Constraint, if you are having the requirement, then only we need to give the constraint. Otherwise, what we can do directly, we can give the column name. But what is the mandatory one? For every column, compulsory, we have to define the data type only. Without giving the data type, if you are trying to add the column or if you are trying to create the table, it will give the syntax error. For that reason, here just I'm giving it as, for example, integer. But how many columns you want to add? 2 columns. That's the reason. Here I'm adding one more thing, ID2 integer. So we need to give it as a alter table, table name, add ID1 integer, comma, ID2 integer. Because enter. Give semicolon. Now see here what has happened. We added the 2 columns, ID1 column and ID2 column. So we are giving add ID1 integer, comma, add ID2 integer. So with that, we added the columns. Now I want to ensure that whether columns are added or not. So what I need to do? Do we need to give select star or we can give the describe command? Just give it as a describe command only. Now see here 2 columns are added. Those are nothing but ID1 column and ID2 column. Now you tell me, earlier we are having already 5 records in this table. Before adding the columns, we are having the 4 columns in this table and we are having 5 records in this table. Now, if I am going to add the 2 columns, what will happen? Here it is taken the ID1 column and here it is taken the ID2 column. But in those columns, what is the data it will take? Already 5 records are there. Now we are adding the 2 columns. For those 2 columns, in these 5 records, what values it will take by default? By default, it will take it as a null values only. So just we'll see the data. Select star from employee table. If you see ID1 column, ID2 column, we added newly into the table. But whenever we are adding the columns into the table, by default, what is happening here? It is taken the default values are nothing but null on top of your existing data. So already we are having the 5 records. On top of the 5 records, we are adding the 2 columns. That's the reason for these 5 records, what values it is taking by default here? It is taken the values as a null. This is the way simply we can able to add the columns by depending on the requirement. Now my requirement is I want to remove the columns. Remove the columns from the table. Again, which command we are going to use? Same alter command, alter table, table name. Now you want to add the columns or drop the columns? Drop the columns. So we have to give the keyword as a drop. I'm giving column name is ID1, comma, drop ID2. Now you try to give the answer. Now do we need to give the data type? Are we adding or we are removing? Whenever you are removing, no need to give the data types only. When you are adding, then only compulsory we have to give the data types. But if you are going to remove the columns, no need to give the data type. Just we have to give it as alter table, table name, drop ID1, comma, drop ID2. Click on enter. Now see, it has removed the columns. And again, if you want to see the structure, give desk employee. So what happened now? All the 2 columns are removed on top of your table. This is the way simply we can able to add the columns or remove the columns by depending on the requirement. Now might be some people can able to get the question, sir, why we are discussing all these things? See, for example, in the real time, if you are going to work in a project only, as we discussed earlier, we are having the different types of the projects. For example, if you are going to work in the enhancement projects, if we are going to work in enhancement projects, generally what we will do in the enhancement projects, already we are having tables. In those tables, already we are having data, but as per business requirements, either we are going to add new columns or will drop existing columns. So in the real time, definitely you are going to get this kind of requirements only. So if you are going to use either data warehouse or data lake or BigQuery, wherever you are going to work, so what will happen in the real time, we are going to get some kind of requirement. So as per the requirement, what we have to do here, either we need to add the new columns as per the business requirement, or we need to drop the existing columns from the table. This is one kind of requirement. Another type of requirement is we need to change logic or transformation rule, or we can call it as a BizLogic on specific columns. So whenever actually we are loading the data into the table, currently what we are doing, just we are giving it as a insert into the table. We are given the values manually. But if you are going to work as a cloud data engineer, what we are going to do, we are going to write the jobs. With the help of the jobs, we are going to load the data into the table. From the file, we will read the data. That data we are going to load on top of your target tables. And now, as part of doing this loading operation, in between what we have to do here, we need to perform the transformation logic. So I can able to select this from the source. From source file, we are going to read the data and we are going to load the data into the target tables. But in between, are we doing any other operations? In between, we are going to perform the transformations as per the business requirements. And so we are going to read the data from the source file. We are going to apply the transformations. Then we are loading the data into the target tables. What is meant by transformation here? That is nothing but your business logic. For example, just I will give a simple example. I'm having the EAD, employee first name and employee last name. And here I'm having, for example, values like this. Now this is my source table. Now in the target table, I want to load the data into only two columns only. Here client is given the requirement. In the EAD column, I don't want to perform any changes. Whatever the data we are having in the source, I want to load the same data, which is nothing but in the target table. What is the data we are going to load? Same 1 and 2. Because on EAD column, client is saying that load the same data as easily into my target table. But coming to employee name column, he given the requirement like this. ENAME column is nothing but this is concatenation of first name and last name columns. So as per the requirement, in this ENAME column, what is the data we need to load? I want to load, for example, XY, and coming to second column, I want to load it as a MN. Now see, for example, this is my source table. In the source table, how many columns we are having? Total 3 columns. But coming to target, how many columns we are having? Only 2 columns only. But do you know how to load the data into the each and every column? No, first we need to understand what is the requirement to load data from the source table to target table. For EAD column, there is no requirement. I want to load the same data as it is. But coming to ENAME column, what is the requirement? I want to concatenate first name column and last name column. That data I want to load into my target table. So this kind of logic only we can able to call it as nothing but transformation logic, or we can call it as a BizLogic. I know this is a very basic example only. Just to try to understand the concept, slowly we can go for the advanced concepts with the real-time example. Here, what we are doing in the real-time projects as a cloud data engineer, when we are loading the data from the source table to target table, we are going to apply some kind of transformation logic, or we are going to apply the business logic. By using that, you are loading the data from the source table to target table. Now, this is the requirement. By using the requirement, I loaded the data into my target table. After 5 months or after 1 year, my client is coming back. He is given the requirement, concatenate first name column and last name column by using comma. Now tell me, what is the data we are expecting as per the new requirement?
X, Y, M, N.
1 second. Concatenate first name column and last name column with comma. Now this is the new requirement, and after 1 year or after 6 months, my client came back and he given the new requirement. So what is the requirement? I want to concatenate first name column and last name column with the comma delimiter, which is nothing but here what is the data we need to load? S comma Y. Here we need to load M comma N. But tell me, in this requirement, are we doing any changes in the structure? No, right? What we are doing? Just we are modifying the data as per the client requirement. And so for example, if my client is coming back, he is asking, can you please add one more column in this table as a salary column?
Hello.
Add this column. Okay. Now, if client is giving this kind of requirement, here what we are doing, we are changing the structure of the table. But what about the previous requirement? Concatenate of first name and last name by
Sir,
using the
sound is not
comma.
coming properly.
Sorry.
Sound is not coming. Sometimes it's breaking.
All other people are facing the same issue, or only one person is
No,
facing
sir,
it?
it's good, sir.
Yeah, person who raised that concern, can you please discard and connect back? I think other people are not facing any kind of issues. Thank you.
Sure, sir.
As part of this requirement, we are dealing with the data, and as part of this requirement, what we are doing, we are dealing with the structure. Indirectly here, why I'm bringing all these things here is, whenever we are going to add the new columns or removing the existing columns, or whenever we are going to change the requirement of the columns, and all these kind of requirements will come under which kind of projects? All these are comes under the enhancement projects, and if you are going to work in the enhancement project, we need to add the columns, or we need to remove the columns, or we need to change the requirement of the columns, or we need to change the transformation logic of the columns. So in the real time, we are going to see all these kind of things. Okay, that's the reason we are discussing about the alter command. For example, my client is coming, he is given the requirement, can you add a column, can you remove a column? How we need to do all these activities? With the help of the alter command, we can able to perform all these kind of activities. For that reason, we are discussing alter command also in the detailed way. Okay. Now coming back to here, what we did, we removed the column. So what we did here, if you want to remove the column, we are giving alter table name. Just give it as a drop ID1 comma drop ID2. In the same way, whenever you want to change the structure of the table, there is the one more possibility. And for example, I want to change the data type of the table. For example, for EAD column, what is the data type we are having? Integer. Now I want to change the data type of the column by depending on the requirement. He want to change the integer to varchar. Indirectly, again, what we are doing here? Again, I want to change the structure. If you want to change the structure again, we need to go for alter command. Just I will say to change data types of the columns. Here we are giving alter table name. Now you want to add, or you want to drop, or you want to modify the column data type. I want to modify. So for that reason, here we are going to use the keyword called as a modify keyword. For example, for EAD column, I want to do this operation. I want to convert integer to varchar. So I'm giving, for example, varchar of 10. Click on enter. Now just we'll give the same command again, is employee. See, earlier what we are having the integer. Now it is becoming as a varchar of 10. So this is the way, by using the alter command, we can able to change the data types of the column by depending on the requirement. Okay. Now, for example, I'm giving alter table name, modify. I want to convert ename column as integer. Tell me, is it possible? I want to convert ename column as integer. Earlier it is a varchar column only. Now I want to convert this column into the integer column. Is it possible? Already in this table, do we have the data or not? We are having the data. What is the data we are having in the ename column? X, Y, Z, Y. This is the data we are having. Now tell me, these are the string values or integer values? These are the string values. Now can we able to convert all these string values into the integer? Is it possible? No. Okay. That's the reason. If I'm going to run this query, it will throw the syntax error. So see what's error we are getting? Incorrect integer value X per column in the ename, which is nothing but already we are having the data. That data is a string value. That string value we cannot able to convert into the integer value. That's the reason it is throwing the syntax error, and which is nothing but whenever you want, if you want, we can able to change the data type of the column. But before changing the data type, we need to verify that what is the data type we are converting. I can able to say here, if you want, we can able to convert integer to varchar. Is it possible or not? This is possible, but varchar to integer conversion is not possible. It will give the syntax error. That's the reason just I showed you this example, and for ename column, we are converting it from the varchar to integer. If you are trying to perform this operation, automatically what's happening? It is given the syntax error. Okay. So this is the way simply we can able to understand how we can able to use the alter command as part of adding the columns or removing the columns, or if you want to change the data types also, we can able to use the alter command. Okay. Any questions so far? Yeah, we can able to change. So I will add that. string to string is possible, or we can able to say integer to integer also possible. What is the meaning of string to string? And char to varchar to char, all those are possible. Integer to integer means integer to decimal or decimal to integer, all those are also possible. But what is not possible here? Varchar to integer, that is not possible. For example, here I'm saying one more thing. Varchar
If we don't have the data,
decimal.
so at the time it can
Is
be
it possible? Varchar to decimal, is it possible? Okay, answer is. So someone is asking the question, and if there is no data in the table, then can we be able to perform this operation? You tell me, is it possible or not? If there is no data in the table, I can able to say.
If no data, it is possible.
If there is no data in the table, then it is possible. Because when we ran the query, what's happening? It is saying that X value cannot able to convert to integer. Why it is showing the X value? Because that is the data we are having in the table. For example, if my table is not having any kind of data, then what will happen? We can able to change the data type. But if our table is having the data already, and if the table data is a varchar, we cannot able to convert that varchar data into the integer. So these are the things we need to understand as part of converting data types by using the alter command. Is it clear? Okay. Now, yeah. Yeah, we can increase data type size. If you are having the varchar of 10, we can give it as a varchar of 15. There also we can give it as a modify only. So for example, just I will type here alter table name. You want to modify the data type let, so we can give modify e name. I'm giving simply varchar of 15. Earlier we are having varchar of 10. Now what we are doing, we are giving the varchar of 15. With that we can able to change the data type length also by depending on the requirement. The decrease also we can do, but what will happen? Data will be truncated. In the table we are having the Srinu, for example. If you are given the varchar of 3, what will happen? Then it will display data as only SRI on top of your screen. Okay. Someone is asking this side. Okay. Yeah, that is possible. See, actually, when I'm typing 1, 2, 3, and tell me these are the integer values or string values. This we can call it as an integer. Same values, if you want, we can call it as a string also, Nandi. So actually 1, 2, 3. So we are thinking these are the numbers. So we are thinking it is a kind of a integer. But 1, 2, 3 we can able to call it as a string values also. Don't get the confusion here. It's looking like a number. 1, 2, 3. Generally we will think it as a number. But if you want, we can able to insert these 1, 2, 3 values into the string field also, because one is acting as a number, at the same time one is acting as a string. But if I'm going to type ABC, these are going to act as only string. A is not going to act as an integer, B is not going to act as an integer, C is not going to act as an integer, but 1, 2, 3 is going to act as an integer, or it is acting as a string also in the database system. That's the reason integer to varchar is possible, which is nothing but in the internal database system, this one is considering it as a varchar, but varchar to integer is not possible. Tell me, for A, if you want to convert it as an integer, what is the value we are expecting? You can't able to expect any kind of value. That's the reason varchar to integer is not possible, but integer to varchar is possible on top of our database system. Is it clear? Okay. Now just we'll try to understand one more thing, Andy. Now, already I'm having a table. Now, I want to take backup of this table. So what I want to do here, I want to take the backup of this table as per the requirement. So first try to understand how to take the backup of the table. Then I will explain in the real time what is the purpose of the backup tables. And first we'll try to understand from the database side how we need to take the backup of the table. Then we'll discuss about in the real time process how this backup is going to helpful to us. Okay. Now tell me, what is the meaning of backup of the table? Any guess? I want to take the backup of the table. What it means indirectly? You want to take the only structure, or you want to take only structure, or you want to take the data also? I need to take structure and also data. So whenever we are calling it as a backup of the table, which is nothing but I want to take the structure of the table and also I want to take the data of the table. So both the things I want to perform here. Now from your side, any cases how we can able to take the backup of the table? First one, what we need to get? we need to get the structure. So if you want to get the structure of the table, here we can able to give the query like this and show create table. To get the structure of the table, what is the command we can able to give? Simply we can give the command called as a show create table. But why we need to get the structure of the table? Because if you want to get the backup of the table, first we need to understand the structure of the table. How we can able to understand the structure of the table? By using show create table. For example, you don't know about this command, then what is the other alternative to understand the structure of the table? By using the PDM document, because already we are having the PDM document. For example, I want to take the backup of the employee table. What I will do, I will open the PDM document. From the PDM document, I will try to understand what is the structure of the employee table. Based on that, I will create the structure. But there, what we need to do? We need to write the complete query, create table, table name, column 1 data type, column 2 data type. Like that, we have to type everything. And just for the saving time, what we can do here, if you want to get the complete structure of the table automatically, then we can able to give the query called as nothing but show create table. Just I will type that once. To get structure of the table, give show create employee. This is my table name. Click on enter. Sorry, it's my mistake.
Right. Describe employee.
No, describe will give the only like this and this, but if you want to see the complete table structure, we can able to get it. Just 1 second.
To create table name, sir.
Sorry, it's my mistake, Andy. So simply what we can do, we can give it as a show create table name. So if you see here, once we are going to give this information, what it is giving? It is given the table name. What is the table name? Employee. And after that, here you can able to see the create table. Under this, what we are having, you can able to see the complete create statement, Andy. So if you want, you can type it manually. But here we are having the 4 columns. For that, you can able to type it fastly. But if you are going to work in the real time, what will happen? We are going to deal with the 40 columns or 100 columns or 200 columns, Andy. In the situation, if you want to type each and everything, what will happen? It will take good amount of time. That's the reason. If you want to get the structure of the table automatically, here we can able to give the command called as a show create table name. So with this, you can able to get the structure of the table. Just what we can do here is we need to copy this. Up to here, I will copy. I will paste it here. For example, I want to give the backup table name as employee underscore BKP. So this is the name I want to give. So just what we are doing, we are taking the structure of the table. After that, just we are given the suffix as a underscore BKP because I want to give the different table name for my backup table. Only what's the one we have changed? Only the table name. So first step, just we need to execute this query, show create table name. After that, you need to copy the structure and just we are going to modify the table name. Just give semicolon and run this query. What happened? Table has been created, but tell me, is it a complete backup table? What we created now so far? Only the structure. Now, what is the next step? I want to get the data also. Now, indirectly, what operation we need to perform? We need to copy data from one table to other table. Am I right? We need to copy data from the old table to my backup table. So as part of backup table, first we need to copy the structure. After that, we need to copy the data. Here, how we can able to copy data from one table to other table, and indirectly, what is the meaning of copy? In this backup table, we are inserting the data or not? In the backup, we are calling it as a copy, but indirectly what we are doing, we are trying to insert the data into the backup table. For that reason, here we are given the query as insert into backup table. Insert into backup table. From which table you want to get the data? From the main table, we need to get the data. So simply we can give it as select start from employee table. So this is the way we can able to frame the query, and which is nothing but indirectly I'm trying to say that we are using the one more syntax of the insert command. Earlier we discussed about insert into table name values. After that, in the values, in the brackets, we are giving all the values manually. Now we are discussing about, I want to copy the data from the one table to other table. Now in this situation, do we need to give the data manually? It's not required because already we are having the data in the main table. That's the reason instead of giving the data manually, what we are doing here, I want to retrieve the data from the main table. How to retrieve the data from the main table or any table? By using the select statement. That's the reason here we are given the combination of both the commands and the insert into backup table. Then we are giving select star from the main table. Just click on enter. Now see, query is completed, 5 rows are affected. Now if you want to see the data from the backup table, just give it as select star from employee underscore BKP. Now see, structure came at the same time, data also came. So this is the way simply we can able to create the backup table as part of our real-time system. So simply we can able to say here. Step 1, we are giving show, create, table name. So with this, you can able to get the structure. So what we did here, we copied the structure, then we renamed the table name. After that, we executed the query in the SQL statement. Now step 3, we need to copy the data. So how we can able to copy the data? We need to give the command as insert into employee underscore BKP table, select star from employee table. We are not discussing any new topic. And if you observe here, already we discussed about insert. Already we discussed about the select. Just what we are doing here, we are combining both into the single query. By using the select star from the table, it is fetching the data from the table. That data we are inserting into your backup table. Earlier what we did, we given the data manually. Every record we given manually. If you don't want to give it manually, just if you want to copy the data from one table to other table, then we can give it as a simply insert into backup table, select star from employee table. This is the way you can able to copy the data. We copied the structure, then we copied the data. This is the way simply we can able to create the backup tables on top of our database system. Okay. Now in the same way, this is option 1. Now, instead of doing all these activities, we are having the simple option here. Option 2. Copy the structure of the table. So earlier what we did, if you want to copy the only structure of the table, then we given it as a show, create table name. After that, we are getting the structure, then copy the structure, then rename the table. All these operations we performed only. Now, instead of doing these many steps here we can able to simplify the process. For that, just I'm giving create table name. I'm giving, for example, employee BKP1, and already we are having the employee underscore BKP table. That's the reason I'm giving the name as a create table employee underscore BKP1. Just we are going to use the like operator, like employee table. So this is the simple query we can able to use. Now with the help of this query, what will happen here is it is going to take the structure of the employee table. With the structure, it is going to create the one more table called as nothing but employee underscore BKP1 table. So we'll see this once. Now, how to see the structure of this employee BKP1? Just give it as employee underscore BKP1. We are using the this command. Click on enter. Now see, structure copied or not? No need to run the show, create table name. No need to copy the structure. No need to rename the table. All those steps no need to do. Only what we can do here with the single line statement, we can able to perform all the operations automatically. What is the command here we are going to use? Create table, our backup table name. After that, just we are giving it as a like employee. What is the meaning of like employee here? It is taken the structure of employee table into the employee underscore BKP1 table. So with this command, how many steps we removed manually here? Step 1, step 2. These 2 steps we removed only by using the single command. You can able to copy the structure. But tell me here it copied the structure, it copied the data also. We'll see that.
Sure.
Select start from employee underscore BKP1. Now what happened? It is having the empty set, which is nothing but it is not copying the data, and what it is doing here, it is copying the only the structure. Now my requirement is in this table I want to copy the data. So what we can do? You tell me the query.
Copy.
Insert into employee underscore BKP1 table. From where we need to fetch the data? Select star from employee table. Just click on enter. So with this, all the 5 rows are copied from the employee table to your employee BKP1 table. And so this is the one more approach. If you want to create the backup table, we can able to create instead of doing all the operations manually, just by using a single command, you can able to copy the structure. After that, we are going to copy the data by using this query. Okay. Now this is the option 2. So before going to the other option, and any questions on the option 2, please ask me here. Is it clear? If it is clear, coming to third option, what we can do here is create table name as select star from table. So this is the third option. Just I will run this first. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, it's my mistake. Okay. Now see here, what I given? Just I given it as a create table name as select star from employee table. This is the simple query I'm giving. Now you try to give the answer. Once I'm going to execute this query, it is copying the structure or copying the data also. See here, it copied the structure and also it copied the data also. And just will check this once. Select star from employee underscore BKP2. See, you can able to see the structure and also you can able to see the data, or if you want to see only the structure, give it as like this. What we are doing indirectly, with the help of the single line command, you can able to copy the structure and you can able to copy the data also, which is nothing but this is the option 3. We can able to say whenever you want to create the backup table, instead of doing step 1, step 2, step 3 in the option 1, or instead of doing the step 1, step 2 in the option 2, what we can do here, with the help of the single query, you can able to create the backup tables as part of our real-time system. Then you will get one question, sir, instead of discussing about this option directly, why we are discussing all these things? Why we are discussing? Just for our understanding only. We'll go slowly one by one. So here we are doing all the steps manually, step 1, step 2, step 3. Once you understand this, then option 2 will become a little bit easy. Here just by using the like operator, automatically you can able to copy the structure. Now in the third option, what we are doing? Copying the structure, copying the data, both operations we are doing at a time on top of our database system. This is the way simply we can able to understand how many ways we can able to create the backup tables as part of our real-time projects. And any questions on all these 3 options, please ask me so far. Is it clear? If you observe, out of all these 3 comments, are we discussing any new topic? Create, already we discussed. Select, already we discussed. Insert, already we discussed. Randy. Understanding create command, select command, insert command is nothing but those are the basic topics. Combining all these commands to perform some other operation, that we can able to call it as a little bit advanced concept. It's not a high advanced concept, it's a little bit advanced concept. So just what we are doing here, we are combining multiple commands for the single requirement. That only we can able to call it as a little bit advanced topic as part of our sessions. Okay. Before going further, any questions again up to here, please ask me. Any questions? Online people, any questions so far?
Sir, I have a question here.
Yes, please.
If you want to copy that table, can we use the where condition? Like,
yeah, we can use the where
1 equals
yeah,
to.
so actually that we can able to call it as a partial backup. See here, someone is asking the question, can we able to use the where clause in the select statement? Definitely you can able to use it, and that kind of tables only we can able to call it as a partial backup table. Now you tell me, based on your understanding, what is meant by partial backup table? In the previous example, we are taking the complete structure or we are taking only the few columns? We are taking the complete structure. In the previous example, we are taking the complete data or we are taking only the few records? We are taking the complete data. That's the reason previous backup table we can able to call it as a complete backup table. And then what is meant by partial backup table? For example, if we are taking backup of the table with only few columns. For example, in our table, we are having total 5 columns and I want to create a backup table with the only 3 columns. Such kind of tables only what we can able to call, we can call it as a partial backup table. Otherwise, if we are taking backup of the table with only few records, what we are doing here, we are taking the backup of the table with not with all the records, only we are taking the backup of the table with only few records. Such kind of backup tables also we can able to call it as a partial backup table. Now, for example, here my requirement is create backup table with EID and ename columns, and in this table I need data for only department ID 20 employees. So this is the requirement. And so what I'm telling here, I want to take the backup table, but in that backup table I want to have all the columns, or I want to have the only specific columns. I want to have only specific columns as per the requirement. After that, in this table, I want to maintain all the records, or I want to maintain the only few records. I want to maintain only the few records. And now from your side, any cases, how we can able to perform this operation? By using any one of the option. Can we go for first option? In the first option, what we can do? Just to give the show create table name. It is given the structure. This is the entire structure. Now, if you are going to create the backup table, we are going to run the same query as it is, or we need to remove any columns. We have to remove some columns. Just I will take the structure here. I'm giving employee backup 3. Now my requirement is I want to maintain only EID and ename columns only. So that's the reason I am removing all these columns manually. Now with this, I will create a backup table. See, table has been created with only 2 columns. Now here we created only table, or we copied the data also. Only table created. Now in this table, I want to copy the data. But tell me here, what is the query we can able to prepare to copy data for only the 2 columns? Insert into what next? Employee underscore BKP3. What next? Select star from employee table. Tell me, is it the correct query? If you remember, earlier we discussed, Randy, whenever you are trying to insert the data, what are the things we need to consider? We need to consider number of columns, what we are dealing, Andy. Now in this employee backup 3, how many columns we created? Only 2 columns. But in the employee table, how many columns we are having?
4.
We are having total 4 columns, Andy. So indirectly for 2 columns, how many columns data we are passing? You are trying to pass the 4 columns data. So we'll try to run this query. See what's happening. Column count does not match with the given count, which is nothing but in this backup 3, we are having the only 2 columns, but in the main table total we are having the 4 columns, and for that reason you are going to get this kind of error. Now how to overcome this error?
In the star.
On the main table, which columns we need to give? We need to give simply EID, comma, ename. Just click on enter. So this is the way simply we can able to copy the data. But tell me here, is it a complete backup table or partial backup table? This only we can able to call it as a partial backup table. But tell me, is it the complete requirement? Just 1 second, I will copy this query here. But is it the complete requirement? Now, if I'm going to run this query, what will happen? Select star from the table. What is happening? It is giving total 5 records only. But as per the requirement here, what is the data I want to copy? In this table, I need to copy data for only department ID 20 employees, and I don't want to copy all the records. I want to copy only the department ID 20 employees. Here, coming to department ID 20, how many records we are having? Only 2. But by mistake, what we did? We copied all the 5 records. How to remove the data from this table? We can able to use delete from employee backup 3 table. Delete is falling under which command? Which type of command? It's a DML command. Now, as part of this example, you want to delete the data, you want to delete the structure. I want to delete the data. That's the reason we are giving delete from target table. Sir, why we are deleting the data? Because my requirement is I want to copy data for only 2 records only, but by mistake I copied all the records. For that reason, what I'm doing here, I am deleting the data from this table. If you see, select star from employee backup 3. So we are having the empty set. Now my requirement is in this table, I want to copy data for only department ID 20 employees. So what we can do? Insert into backup table. Then select star from employee table. But from the employee table, you want to get all the records or you want to get only specific records? I want to get the specific records. Indirectly, you want to filter the data only. Whenever you want to filter the data from the database system by using the SQL query, then we are going to use the keyword called as nothing but where. With the help of the where keyword, you can able to filter the data. Now, on top of which column you want to filter the data? On the department ID column. Which values you want to fetch? Only 20. So we are giving it as a simply DID is equal to 20, which is nothing but with the help of the select statement, it is taken the data for only department ID 20 employees and that data only will be inserted on top of your backup table. Give semicolon and run it. What happened?
Select
Sir,
star.
instead of giving the column name,
Yeah, it's
can
my
we
mistake.
give 1 equals to 1?
EID comma ename. Yes, my mistake only. So we are giving EID comma ename. Why we are given the only EID comma ename? Because in the backup table we are having the only 2 columns and for that reason instead of star we have to give it as a EID comma ename. Then we are given the from employee where condition. Now if I'm going to run this query,
Ename.
yeah, it's my mistake again. Now see what happened? 2 rows are copied, which is nothing but by using this command. What we are doing here, we are copying the data for only 2 columns. At the same time, we are copying the data for only specific department ID as per the requirement ID. So this is the way simply we can able to take the partial backup tables as part of our requirement. As part of this whole example, we created the partial backup table by using the specific columns and by using the specific data. What's the requirement? Create a backup table by using only EID and ename column and copy data for only DID 20 employees, which is nothing but we are taking the partial structure and we are taking the partial data. With that, we are creating a backup table. Such kind of backup tables only we can able to call it as a partial backup tables. Okay. Now I can able to say this is option 1. But is there any simplified option instead of doing all these activities?
Yes, sir.
Here, just I will take this example. Now,
Nice.
if I'm going to run this query, what is happening? It is taking complete structure of the employee table because here we are given the star operator. What is the meaning of star? It is considering all the columns, which is nothing but as part of this example, it is taking all the columns of employee table. With that, it is creating the backup table structure. But now what's my requirement? I want to create a backup table with the only 2 columns and for that reason, instead of star, what we can do, just give it as a
EID comma ename.
EID comma ename. But tell me, is it the complete query? If I'm going to run this query, what will happen? It will create a backup table. It will copy the data also automatically, but it will copy all the records or it will copy only department ID 20 records. It will copy all the records because in this query we haven't applied any filter condition. That's the reason, as per the requirement, if you want to load data for only particular records, there we are giving it as a where DID is equal to 20. This is the way we can able to frame the query. Now just I will run this. See what happened? Your table has been created with the backup table and only 2 records are copied. If you want to see the data in this table, give it as select star from employee underscore BKP 4. See how many columns it taken? Only 2 columns. How many records it is taken? Only 2 records only. This is the way we can able to create the partial backup tables also as part of our real time. In the real time project, sometimes we are going to create the partial backup tables also as part of the requirement. But if you see here, between complete backup table and partial backup table, is there any huge change? It's a very simple change. What is the change? Instead of star, what we are giving here? We are given the specific columns as per the requirement. And here we are not giving any filter condition, but coming to here, as per the requirement, I want to copy data for specific department ID. For that reason, just we are applying the filter condition. With the few minor changes, you can able to create the partial backup tables also as part of our real-time projects. Okay, if you observe at the high level, we discuss only 2 topics here so far. What are those topics? One is how to create a backup table. Second one is how to create a partial backup table. Within that, we are discussing about what all are the available options we are having. Here option 1, option 2, option 3. Here we are discussing 2 different options to create a partial backup tables as part of our database system. Okay, any other questions? I think someone asked the question, can we able to apply the where condition? Answer is yes and but whenever we are going to apply the where condition, such kind of backup tables, we can able to call it as a partial backup tables. Any other questions so far? Yeah. You want to copy? Yeah, then you have to give all the columns manually. You don't have any other option. So for example, in the table, you are having the 100 columns. Out of 100 columns, you want to create a backup table with only the 50 columns. In the situation, you have to type all the columns manually, because in the select, you are having only 2 options. Either you have to give it as a star or you have to give the columns manually. So coming to your question, in a table, I'm having the 100 columns, for example. Out of 100, I want to copy the data for only the 50 columns. Then what we have to do? There is no other option. You have to type all the 50 columns manually in the select statement. Is it clear? Okay. Any other questions? Online people, any other questions up to here? Okay. Now we'll try to understand. Yeah, please continue.
In the select statement, we can use more than one table, right?
No, actually not in the select statement. In the from clause, you can able to use more than one table.
Yes.
In the select statement, you can able to use the more than one column. In the from clause, you can able to apply the more than one table. But as part of this example, we are dealing with only one table only. But at a time, if you want to deal with the multiple tables, at a time, if you want to give multiple tables in your SQL query, then we need to use set operators or joins. So this is the separate topic which we are going to cover as part of our coming sessions. And set operators are nothing but union, intersect, minus those we can able to call it as a set operator. Joins we'll discuss separately. So as part of coming classes, we are going to discuss about set operators and joins. Whenever we are using the set operators or joins, then only we can able to use the multiple tables in the from statement. For now, try to understand how we can able to use the one table. In the later classes, we are going to discuss about how we can able to give the multiple tables within the from statement. Is it clear?
Yes.
Any other questions? See, some people are playing. Yeah, Prahlad, don't do any operations on the screen, please. Okay.
Yeah,
Now
sorry.
we need to understand what is the purpose of backup table. So far what we discussed, how to create the backup table, that we are discussing. Now what we need to understand, why we need to create the backup tables as part of our real-time projects. And just to go back to the previous example, in the enhancement projects, what we are doing, what we discussed earlier, we are going to add the columns as per the requirement, or we are going to remove the columns as per the requirement, or we are going to apply the business logic on top of your existing columns. And so in the real-time projects, whenever we are going to work in the enhancement projects, what we are doing, either we are going to add the columns, or we are going to remove the columns, or we are changing the transformation rule of the existing column. These kind of operations we are performing on the existing table or new table. We are performing all these operations on top of your existing table. Now you tell me, while performing these operations on the existing table, you did some mistake, then what will happen? Your entire table data will be corrupted. Now, can we able to get the previous data from that table? No, right? That's the reason. If you are going to work in the enhancement projects, before adding the columns, or before dropping the columns, or before changing the transformation rule of the column, what is meaning of changing the transformation rule? Earlier we discussed this example, right? First one, what is the requirement? Concatenate first name column and last name column. Later he modified the requirement. What is the new requirement? Concatenate first name column, last name column with the comma. That we can able to call it as a changing the transformation rule. And as part of enhancement project, if you are going to add a new column, or if you are going to remove the column, or if we are going to change the transformation rule of the column, indirectly what we are doing, we are going to work on the existing table. By mistake, if you are going to do any kind of wrong operations, and what will happen? Entire data will be corrupt on top of your existing table. In that situation, you cannot able to revert the data. For that reason, what we are doing, before adding the column or before removing the column or before changing the transformation rule of the column, we need to take the backup table. After taking the backup table only, you are going to perform other operations as part of our real-time projects. That's the reason we are discussing here about how to create the backup table. Just I will give the statement here like this. In real-time projects, if we are going to work in enhancement projects, we need to add or remove or change transformation logic of the columns. What we are doing here, we are going to change the adding the columns or removing the columns or changing the transformation logic of the columns on existing tables. If we are going to perform any kind of wrong operations in this scenario on existing table, what will happen? Entire data will corrupt. To handle this situation, we are going to create backup table first. So before adding the columns or before removing the columns or before changing the transformation rule of the columns, and what we are doing first we are creating the backup table. After creation of the backup table, what we are doing here, as per the requirement, either we are going to add the columns or remove the columns or applying the transformation rule changes on top of the columns only. But tell me here, do we need this backup table permanently or temporarily? This backup table is required only for the temporary purpose. So we can able to add the one more statement here. After completion of all the changes successfully, then we can draw backup tables. So actually this is again one of the interview question, Andy. So for example, client is given the requirement, so he want to change the transformation rule of the columns on top of your existing table. Can you please list down what all are the activities we are going to perform? Most of the people will give the answer. I will open the BigQuery or I will open the data proc. There I will change the transformation. I will load the data, Andy. But before doing all the operations, what is the main thing we have to do? First thing, you have to take the backup of the table. After that only you have to perform the remaining operations. If you can able to give this kind of answer with the single question, he can able to understand you are a kind of a real-time employee and you're really working on the data engineering projects only. Because in the real time, if you're really working on the cloud data engineering projects, what we are going to perform, whenever you want to do any kind of changes on the existing table, first step compulsory we have to take the backup table. After that only we are going to perform the remaining operations as part of our real time. That's the reason only we are spending this much of time to understand about the backup table or to understand about the partial backup tables. Okay. Any question on top of this entire statement, please ask me.
Sir, one silly question, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, the same thing you can do by using view, right, sir? So
By
why
using-
you need another table?
Okay. So you want to perform this operation on top of the views. Okay. So someone is asking, we can do same operation by using views. Okay. People who don't know about the views, you can forget about this point only. But people who all are know about the views, try to give the answer. What is the purpose of the view? Any guesses? People who all are know about the views, I'm asking. Is it a physical table or virtual table?
It's a virtual table.
It's a virtual table. Now tell me, if you are going to create the views, from where we are going to create the views? With the help of the tables, we are creating the views. Okay. So people who don't know about the views also just try to understand the concept. And view is nothing but it's a kind of a virtual table. Whenever you want to create the views, what we are doing on top of the tables only, we are creating the views. Okay. Now, for example, someone is asking the question, instead of creating the backup tables, why we cannot able to use the views? Any guesses?
We
Instead
cannot
of using the backup
do any
tables, why
operations
we
on
cannot
views.
able to use the views? Very simple answer, Andy. We are creating the view on top of what? Table.
Tables.
Now, where we are doing the changes on that, where we are doing the changes in the enhancement projects, on top of tables only, you are going to perform the operation. Now, as part of doing the operations on top of the table, now this table is corrupted. What will happen? With the help of the view, can we be able to see the normal data? Can we see the normal data now?
No, we cannot.
View is depending on the table. See, people who all are having knowledge already on top of the view, try to understand this concept. If you don't know about the view, you can able to forget about this concept only. In coming classes, we will discuss about what is a view, what is the purpose of the view in the detailed manner. People whomever having knowledge on the view, just to try to understand this line here. What I'm telling, whenever you are going to create the views, we are creating the view on top of the table. Okay. Now, when you are working in the enhancement projects, while adding the column or removing the column or changing the logic of a column, if this table is corrupted, now this view will give the proper data or it will give the corrupt data. It will give the corrupt data only because view is depending on the table. That's the reason at any point of time, don't think that view is a backup of the table. This is completely wrong statement, which is nothing but I can able to say. If you are thinking like this only, indirectly I can able to say you haven't understood what is the concept of the view. Don't think that view is a backup of the table. View is nothing but it's a kind of a virtual table. In detail, we'll discuss about what is the view in our coming classes only. But for now, try to understand view is not a backup of the table. So with this statement, I can able to say with the help of the view, you cannot able to achieve the above requirement. If you want to maintain the backup, compulsory we have to follow above operations only as part of our real-time projects. Is it clear? Okay.
Clear, sir.
Any other questions so far?
Sir, if the tables are very huge, so instead of doing this one, we can take the backup, means Arman backup or export.
Sorry, can you please repeat the question?
If the table size is very huge,
Okay.
lots of records are there. So instead of taking the backup like this one, we can take an Arman backup or export the total table. Is that a good solution?
Now you are only saying that table is having huge data.
Okay.
And if table is having the huge data, if you are going to perform the export operation, will it take the less amount of time or it will take the more amount of time?
Yes, yes.
There also it will take the more amount of time, right? Actually, in the real time, when we are dealing with the data, we are going to maintain the huge database systems. We are not going to deal with the small database systems. So, for example, if you are facing any such kind of issues, we can able to have some kind of alternate solutions that we'll discuss in the coming classes. Okay. But comment, you are saying that it can be able to perform the export operation. We cannot able to perform the export operations also when we are dealing with the huge data, because if you want to export that huge amount of data, what will happen? It will take good amount of time. At the same time, when you are going to perform the export operation, what we are doing? We are exporting the data to the outside of the database system. Is that better or better to maintain the data within the database only by taking the backup? Within the database only, better to take the backup compared to exporting this data to the outside of database only. So I can able to say export operation is not a good operation.
Got it, sir.
Okay, so this is the way simply we can able to understand how we can able to create the backup tables or how we can able to create the partial backup tables only. Now, if you observe here, so far we created the multiple tables. Now I want to see the list of the tables. So what we can do? What all are the tables we created? Just we can give it as show tables. This is the command we can give. How many tables we created? Employee table is a main table, backup 1, backup 2, backup 3, backup 4, and which is nothing but in the single session we discussed about the multiple topics. Indirectly, what is happening? Day by day, you need to perform the more practical Sunday. So whatever the topics we discuss or whatever the queries we discuss, you have to perform the practice for all these things for the better understanding. Okay. Now, for example, here I want to check a particular table is available in my database system or not. So this is the one more question I'm asking. I want to check a particular table is available in my database system or not. For example, I want to check whether employee table is available or not. What is one option? Simply we can give it as a show tables, and with that you can able to see the list of the tables. Out of this list of the table, we can able to see whether employee table is available or not. But other than this option, is there any other option to verify the table is available in the database or not? That's my question. First option, just to give it as a show tables. With this, what we can do here, you can able to see all the list of the tables and from here you can able to manually check whether we are having the table or not. For example, in my project, I'm having the 1000 tables and if I'm going to give the show tables, what will happen? It will display all the 1000 tables. Now, then we need to go to all the 1000 tables manually and we need to verify whether the table is present or not. But instead of doing this operation in our database system in the MySQL, we are having few system tables. Any guesses what is the meaning of system tables, Andy? All these tables who is creating? We are creating all these tables in the database system as a user. But what is meant by system tables? As part of installation of the database system on your system, on your machines, and automatically your MySQL installation will create the sum of the tables. Those tables only we can able to call it as a system tables. Now, by using one of the system table, you can able to identify whether your tables are present or not. By using one of the system table, we can able to identify whether our table is present or not. So that table name is nothing but, these are the two important tables. Again, we are going to use in the real time. See, one is the schema name is nothing but database name. And so currently in which database we are working? How to find out in which database we are working? Select database from GL. This is the first command we discussed as part of our today's session. So by using this, you can able to find out in which database you are working. Now, whatever the system table I'm talking here, this system table is present in which database? It is present in the information underscore schema, and in this schema, we are having the table called as a INMODB underscore tables. In this table, it is going to store all the metadata. In this system table, it will store complete metadata of the tables. Again, eventually people will get the question, what is meant by metadata? Any answer? What is meant by metadata? Metadata is nothing but data about data, and now what is meant by data about data? For example, I'm giving 1A. I'm giving 2B. Tell me what it is. Is the data or not? This is the data, but what is the meaning of this? What is 1, 2? Is it an employee ID or student ID or customer ID? We don't know, right? That's the reason to define this data. I am giving one more data here. For example, EID and ENAME. Now you tell me what is the 1, 2? EIDs. What is AB? ENAME, which is nothing but to define this data. We are given the one more data. That kind of data only we can able to call it as nothing but metadata, and now in this example, try to give the answer. Which is the metadata? Which is the actual data? In this example, here EID comma ENAME we can able to call it as a metadata. And 1, 2 and A comma B. What we can able to call? This is nothing but our actual data. So metadata is nothing but data about the data, and so in this example 1A comma 2B is nothing but we can able to call it as a actual data. To understand this data, what we are given the column names, that only we can able to call it as a metadata. Now what I'm telling here, in this system table, it is going to store the metadata of the tables. What is the meaning of metadata of the tables? Your table name, column name, data type length, all these are nothing but we can able to call it as a metadata of the tables. And earlier we are calling it as a structure. Instead of calling it as a structure, what we can able to call? You can able to call it as a metadata of the table. So here I can able to say, if you can able to call it as a structure, or if you can able to call it as a schema, or if you can able to call it as a metadata of a table. All these are same or different? Structure and schema or metadata, all these are nothing but same only, and so we are using the different naming conventions for our convenience purpose. If you are calling it as a structure, or if you are calling it as a schema, or if you are calling it as a metadata, all these are nothing but same only. Okay, now coming back to here, what I'm telling, in this table, it is going to store the metadata of the tables and which is nothing but here it will store all the table names. Now my requirement is I want to see the data in these tables. What we can do here simply from this system table, I want to see the data. What I can do? Whenever you want to retrieve the data, what is the query we have to write? Select star from the table. See if I'm going to run this query. What's happening? It is displaying all the tables which are present in your database system only. But what is our requirement? I want to see a particular table as part of my requirement. So if you want to see the particular table or if you want to fetch the particular record, what we can do here? We have written the query as select star from the table. Now we are getting around 100 records in the output screen. But instead of getting all the records, I want to get a only particular record. So what we can do? We need to apply the filter condition. But if you want to apply the filter condition, what we need to understand? On which column you want to apply the filter condition, that we need to understand. That's the reason what I will do here is I am going to run the same query just by adding a keyword called as a limit one. Any guesses what will happen now? If I am given the select star from the table, it will display all the records only. But if you want to see only one record for understanding perspective, what we can do here, you can able to give the keyword called as a limit keyword, limit one. Not see, it is displaying how many records? Only one record. But why we are given the limit one here? For understanding the data. If you observe first column, what we are having? Table ID. Here we are having the table ID. In the table ID, we can able to see some kind of integer value only. After that, what we are having? Name. In the name, if you see here we are having the database name and table name, which is nothing but if you want to see your table, which column we can able to use from this list? We can able to use the column called as a name column. For that reason, here simply I will give it as where name is equal to, if you see here in the name, in which format we are having the data? We are having the database name / table name only. What is our database name? CD_ batch 19. Then I want to see data for employee table. So just give it as employee. Click on enter. Now see what happened. It is showing the data or not. We are having the table called as a CDE_B19 / employee table. In which table we are having this information? This information we are having in the table called as a system table, which is nothing but INNO_DB_tables only. This is the one of the system table. It is capturing all the tables information automatically into your system table. Now you tell me, in this table, have we inserted this record? No, right? Whenever you are creating a table in the backend, what will happen? Your system tables will store all this kind of information. What kind of information? It is going to store the actual data or it is going to store the only metadata. It is going to store only the metadata only. In the system tables, we can able to see the metadata of the tables. Okay, but if you see here we are having the only table names. Then where we are having the column names? Here it is having the only table name of employee. Then where we are having the column names and data types and lengths. That information we can able to see in the one more table called as nothing but. So in this table, we can able to see all the columns information only. Now, first we'll see select star from this table. Now see if I'm going to run this, what will happen? It will display all the tables, all the column names only. Okay. So total 299 columns we are having in all the tables, but I want to understand the structure of this table. So what we can do? If you want to understand the structure of this table, just give it as a limit one. So if I'm given the limit one, what is happening? It is having the table ID. We are having the name. So like this, we are having some columns only. Now what I will do here is, see if I'm given the INNO_DB_tables for employee table, what is the table ID we are having? 1082. Now I will go to the columns table. Here I will give the condition as where table_ID is equal to 1082. Tell me here what is the meaning of this 1082? In the INNO_DB_tables, this is the one of the system table. In this table, it is storing the tables information. For this employee table, what is the table ID we are having? 1082, which is nothing but in this columns table, if you want to see the employee table columns and what we have to do here, we need to apply the condition on top of the table ID. So we are given the condition as a table ID, but in the table ID, which value we need to pass? We need to give the value as a 1082. Now click on enter. If you see, whatever the columns we are seeing with the help of the describe command, same information we can able to see by using the system table. With the help of the system table, again you can able to get the structure of the table. Now some people will ask the question, sir, instead of doing all these operations, simply I will give it as a disk employee. It is given the output. Why we are doing all these operations unnecessarily? Why you are eating my brain? You will get this question, right? So why we are discussing all these things? Simply we can give it as a disk employee table. If you are going to give the disk employee table, automatically it is given the all the columns of the table and then why we are discussing about all these system tables here? Because in the real-time projects, sometimes we have to depend on the system tables also. And if you want, what I can do here, simply I can able to say it as a disk table. I can go to the separate topics, but in the real-time projects, if you are going to work as a cloud data engineer on any database system, sometimes you need to work on the system tables also. That's the reason here we are discussing about all these system tables. It's very simple and don't think that it's very complex topic. So what are the different system tables we are having? INNODB underscore tables, and other one is a INNOB underscore columns. And now in this table, what is the data it is storing? In this, it is storing the table name and table IDs. For every table, it is assigning one ID. The table names and table IDs we can able to see in the INNODB underscore tables. Now, what about the second one? In this, what it is storing? It is storing all the column names and table IDs. Okay, actually if you see the second table here, if you see the INNOB underscore columns and do we have any column with the table name? You can able to see the column names, but you cannot able to see any table name. And our table name is nothing but employee table. Are we saying any table name here? No. For that reason, what we are doing here, we are depending on the table ID, which is nothing but first by using this table, you are going to find out what is the table ID of the table. After that, by using the table ID, we are trying to find out which columns we are having in the table. All these operations we are going to perform if you want to see the structure of the table. Just I will add the statement here. In real-time projects, sometimes we need to work on system tables also. So what are those sometimes? I will cover in the coming classes study, but please try to understand in the real time compulsory we are going to work on the system tables. That's the reason only we are spending time on these two tables. And now in the same way, now we are discussing about MySQL, but if you are going to work on Teradata, now tell me, Teradata is a one more database. In the Teradata, can we able to see the same tables? System tables I am asking. We are going to have different system tables, different names of the system tables. Those we can able to call it as a dbc.tables and dbc.columns. So these are the two system tables we are having in the Teradata database. And in MySQL, these two are the data system tables we are having. But if you are going to work in the Teradata, we are having some other system tables which we can call it as a dbc.tables and dbc.columns. In the same way, if you are going to work in the SQL server, we'll have different names. And if you are going to work in Oracle, we'll have different names. But what is the purpose of all these tables, Andy? What is the purpose of the system tables, either in the Teradata or SQL Server or in Oracle? To store all the metadata. What is meant by metadata? Your table name, column name, all these will come under the metadata. Now, finally, I will ask two questions, Andy. In which system table, in MySQL, in which system table it is going to store all the table names? In which system table it is going to store all the table names? In the INNOB DB underscore tables, in this system table, it is going to store only the table names. In which system table, it is going to store all the column names? INNODB underscore columns. Okay. Here we are having the table name. Here we are having the only column names only. Then how we can able to understand relationship between these two tables? How to understand? By using the table ID. Just to clear the statement, table ID is going to play very important role to verify data between
INNODB.
INNODB tables and INNODB
Columns.
columns. Okay, this is the one important statement we need to understand. Table ID is going to play very important role. Why it is playing the very important role? Because in this table we are having the table name corresponding table ID. In this table, what we are having? We are not having the table name. We are having the only column ID and for that reason, by using this table, first we are trying to find out what is the table ID. After that, we are using the table ID to fetch the data from this system table. That's the reason table ID is going to play important role as part of reading the data from these two system tables. Okay, all these are the things we need to understand when we are working on the creation of the tables or when we are given the structure of the tables. And that's the reason we are spending the time on top of all these topics. Okay, again, any questions up to here, please ask me. Sorry, come again. Metadata. Yeah, it will show only. So, what is the meaning of metadata in the database set? As per our previous example, metadata is nothing but, so in this example, this is, for example, this is the table. In this table, what is the actual data? We are calling it as a 1, 2 and a, b is nothing but actual data. Now, to understand this data, what we are giving? We are given the other data. What is that? We are given the column names, and indirectly this EAD and ename is also nothing but data only. But why we are using this data? To define the other data. What is the data? To define the 1, 2, we are giving employee ID. To define the a, b, we are giving it as a ename, which is nothing but metadata is nothing but data about data. In the database set, we can able to say metadata is nothing but your column names. Or in the database set, we can able to say metadata is nothing but table names. Now, can we able to say 1, 2 and a, b? Can we able to call it as a metadata? No. In the database set, your table name, column name, data type, all these are only we can able to call it as a metadata. So those column names or table names, we cannot able to call it as a actual data. Is it clear? Okay. Sorry, come again.
How will get actual data? Like we have metadata, we have the system table.
Okay, so how you can able to get this actual data? You are asking, right? You tell me. Other people see asking the question. How we can able to get this actual data? Tell me here where we are having this actual data. In the normal tables or in the system tables? In the normal tables only we are maintaining the actual data, right? So in this example, for example, I am creating the employee table. In that employee table, what I will do? I will maintain the actual data. Now, if you want to see the actual data, do we need to go to system tables or we need to go to the actual tables? We need to go to the actual table. Simply we can give the query select star from employee table. With that, automatically we can able to get the actual data. But if you want to understand which table names we are having or which column names we are having, then only we are depending on the system tables. And for the reason I'm giving the statement, when we are going to deal with the system tables, if you want to understand the metadata of the tables, then only we need to go for the system tables. But if you want to understand about the actual data, then what we are doing here, we are going to use the actual tables on top of our database system. Is clear? Okay. Any other questions so far? Okay. If no questions, Andy, I will share this document to you at the same time. Whatever the queries I typed in this window, I will copy all these queries and I will share with you. So please do the practice for all these things. And with that, what will happen? You can able to get a better knowledge about all these topics. Is it clear? Okay, then we'll meet you at 2:30.
Sir, all the documents shared in the Telegram only.
Yes, sir. So far, we are sharing everything in the Telegram group only. So might be in future, we will share it by using the Google Drive. But for now, we are sharing everything by using the Telegram group only. Okay.
Sir, we don't get records, sir. Session record.
Session recordings, I will check with them. So actually, see here, one more thing just I want to let you know. After completion of the class, immediately don't expect the sections recordings. Because from the Zoom, it need to download and it need to perform some kind of rendering operations. And to perform all those things, it will take around 30 minutes to 1 hour. Okay, within 1 hour, hopefully you will get the recordings. But today's recording you haven't received so far. Okay, I will check with the admin team once and I will ask them to share with you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, then we'll meet you at 2:30.
Sir, at 2:30 also the same DB classes, or we'll start Python?
Now we are going to discuss about the database concepts, and after completion of database concepts, then only we are going to start with the Python. Okay.
Okay.